Zachariah, thank you so much for being with us today. And really, I appreciate your willingness to be interviewed so we can share and introduce your book to our readers. Tell us about your writing journey and how you wrote the book.
Actually, about 1988, I started kindergarten at a small town here in Willard, Missouri. And in school, I wasn't very focused on learning or very focused on reading for sure. I had so many imaginary friends and toys to play with and things going on in my mind that reading never really was of any value to me. I didn't apply myself definitely in school. And starting out that way, not applying yourself to reading, especially something that at that age level is just soaked up by kids, when you don't apply yourself to that, you fall behind quickly. It wasn't until later in life that I actually developed a love of reading. Fast forward to 2001, I graduate high school with a below average reading level. I have not read a chapter book cover to cover in my entire life.
Wow.
I didn't read a single chapter book from the time I started school until the time I ended school, cover to cover. I still did good in school, but to sit down and read a book, I saw no value or no interest in that whatsoever.
Wow.
So now fast forward to, I was a 21-year-old, for lack of a better term, used to be college student until I met the girl who is now my wife. She is an avid reader. She loves reading. I read my first chapter book so that I could have something to talk to this girl about. This right here is Elijah. We'll tell about
Hi,
this
Elijah.
together. Okay?
Hi.
This girl that I read the book for, it was the second Harry Potter book. That was my first chapter book that I read. We end up, we date, we get married, and she tells me one day that I'm going to be a father. And that very day, I sat down and I penciled an illustration of what I wanted my son to look like. I didn't know it was going to be a boy, but I wanted it to. So I sat down and I drew a little boy. And the illustration that came out is him. It looks just like him. I believe in God, and it looks like God took my picture and said, okay, that's good. And he gave me him.
That is wonderful. Yeah, it really does look like him. It's about Elijah and the key of knowledge.
Absolutely. Coming from a background of not reading, not seeing interest in reading, and then truly experiencing a revelation, a love of reading. I love to read. I collected the Ian Fleming James Bond signets for my birthday this year.
That's
I
wonderful.
found a love of reading. And now having children and realizing what I missed out on, I wanted to encourage my children to find a love of reading from an early age, because I missed out on so much not reading as a child. And that's really where this story came from. My son loves adventure, and my son loves superheroes, and my son loves going on quests. And so I got to thinking about reading as it really is the most important life skill you can have. And so I got to thinking about that as reading is the most valuable treasure that we can have, the ability to learn for ourselves. And that is where this book came from, is an adventure, a quest of friends going on this adventure to get this key of knowledge, reading this skill. And so I wanted it to be humorous, and I wanted there to be some sort of suspense and triumph at the end. And so I got to thinking about what are things that we could put in the way? What are the barriers that we come up against? And definitely self-esteem. You know, we start questioning ourselves. Throughout the book, the main character, Elijah, comes into contact with obstacles in his way. And he has an idea of how to overcome them, but he feels inadequate to. Like, he's not strong enough, or he's not big enough, or maybe not brave enough to overcome these obstacles. And then in the very end, where they are actually going to acquire the key of knowledge, he's the only one that has the ability.
Right.
And that shows the value of the skill of reading.
So tell us about, after writing the book, and it's a wonderful story, and you're the illustrator as well, which is fabulous, and get it published. I mean, go through the actual process. What did you do?
I said earlier that I believe in God, and that is where it came from, to be honest with you. If I tell people the story, they don't believe it, because I listened to the story myself, and if I hadn't lived it, I would not believe it. The drawings actually came first. I had a rough idea of the story, because it's kind of, in a sense, an autobiography of my learning to read, my growing up and finding a love of reading. So I had the idea of coming up against these struggles and everything, and I drew the pictures first, and the words didn't come until much later. I work at a residential treatment facility, and I am known for being artistic. And I was sharing my drawings with a boy in my care. And he said, "Sir, you should write a book." And I said, "That's kind of what that's for." And moments later, a pop-up ad came up for Tate Publishing accepting unsolicited manuscripts. Within moments of him saying that, you should write a book. Now be joined by Lincoln, the newest addition to my family.
All right.
She's 7 months old, and my third child, my second daughter.
All right. So
after he told me that, I clicked on the link to get some more information, and through a long process, I found out, how they accept manuscripts, that there is an investment on the author's part to get published. And throughout this entire thing, I'm thinking to myself, is this something that is good for my family? Is this something I can do? And at every turn, I kept getting blessed. From the investment on the author's part being cut in half by the CEO of that company as a blessing to me. I mean, I don't believe they do that to everybody, but I think that he saw a value in my book. And then to getting part of it paid for as a graduation gift from college from my mother-in-law. All of these things just fell into place to where I look back at it and say that I tried to get the book published, but it wasn't me. There were steps that I had no control over. I just believe that the story is good, and the story is truthful, and the story honors skills that God wants us to have. And I think that I was helped out in that way.
Right. Well, that is a great story, and I appreciate you sharing that with our readers, because I know that there are other teachers and parents out there who would love to have, their books published or their stories told. And I love it that Tate Publishing publishes family-oriented literature that really supports and advocates for great values. So how can readers buy your book? I mean, they've heard about it. Now they want to go out and get it. What do they do?
Absolutely. There are several different ways to get the book. You can look on the Tate Publishing website. They have a bookstore there. It's available through them, both a paperback and an ebook, a Kindle edition. I know that they're working on getting a Nook edition out. I know that the book is already available through Amazon.com in a Kindle edition. If they look on my author website at zachariahrippee.tateauthor.com, you can click on a link to buy the book through there.
Okay.
You can search for it through Amazon, and it's on there already. And when they purchase a paperback, they actually receive a free audio download. Now, the audio download is not available at this time because it's still in production, but there is a code right on the back of the book that you type in at tatepublishing.com, and you get an audio download to where you can listen and read the book at the same time.
All right. Well, so what else do you have in the works? What's coming up? What's your next book?
Actually, I'm 4 illustrations away from submitting my second manuscript for a second Elijah book. It's called Elijah and the City in Danger. The whole idea of that, again, is he loves superheroes, and I'm looking to build character Ed, doing things right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a superhero in a city, and he wants to save the day for this city because it's under attack from monsters, and he can't because he has some chores to do. And mom says you can't go save the day until you do your chores.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes up with some inner conflict there on he really wants to go save the day, so he should hurry up and do this, but a hero would do it right the first time. That's the first project I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
I have a project with a local Bolivar artist named Jenny Mayer. We're putting together a book that is really important to me because it talks about children struggling with cancer, battling cancer. She is a wonderful artist. She's called the Soul Painter. She's won some awards this year. The Bolivar Herald featured her on the front page for winning some awards. We're going to combine our efforts and illustrate a book that is roughly titled Heroes.
When will the City in Danger book be coming out? Kind of, do you foresee?
I hope to have the manuscript submitted by Thanksgiving. And then from there, we will move quickly into production. I would say tentatively spring of 2016.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your children with us. We appreciate that. And I just appreciate you taking your time to talk with us today and introduce your book to the readers. And I'm sure they'll be looking for new stuff in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.